Technology. Technology has made it possible for us to connect in all kinds of new ways and to communicate at lightning speeds with people we may never have even met. And with this sudden intimacy, some important communication skills are suffering in what turns out to be a fast and impersonal mode. Maybe it's because sitting behind a computer screen or staring into a smart device, it's easy to dehumanize the person who might be reading our communication on the other side. And when we dehumanize a person, well, we may see no reason to be respectful, kind, gentle, thoughtful with them. Well, rather than flee entirely from participating in online communication, I have decided to let the world of e-communication become my kindness gym, where I can work out, iron out the kinks in my own communication style and get stronger in my use of kindness. And one of my sources of inspiration is a particular customer service representative on a technology help forum. A customer representative who answers every rant against the company as if he is responding to a beloved parent or a kind friend. You see, apparently, there is nothing in creation more frustrating, nothing in creation that causes greater indignation than a device that does not work as expected. Or software that mysteriously malfunctions. And support forums are filled up with angry users where they are letting out their steam on the representatives of the poorly performing product with justified rage. Now, some representatives clearly have been trained to respond with stock phrases. You can see it. Thank you for contacting us. I'm sorry you're having difficulty. Do I understand that your question is exactly the thing that you just typed? They just copied and pasted that. They did. and these kind of answers, they seem to be lacking something human. And they don't connect. And they can actually have the effect of further enraging the already frustrated customer. But my customer service representative, when he answers, when he replies, he stays perfectly on the topic of the inquiry with direct, personal, polite language, and he bypasses the temptation to strike back. He does not become defensive when unkind words are flung in his direction. Oh, no. See, my guess is that he was trained in the school of raising children. Because tantrums don't distract him. Or maybe he just understands the meanness of pointing out people's bad manners and grammar and attitude. Or maybe he's just in touch with his values. And he understands that being kind is its own reward. And so he doesn't go the way of the crowd. I go to the forums to read. What will he say? What will he say? The second Zen commandment in our book of the month is act with kindness. So I did what I did last week. I went to the source material for our movement, the Science of Mind textbook by Ernest Holmes, and I looked up the word kindness. And it occurs 13 times, 12 of which relate to and describe the nature of divinity. How it is the very quality of divinity itself, loving kindness. How we can expect to encounter it wherever we go because that's where divinity is, everywhere. How it will follow us wherever we go. How it shines a light upon the path that we travel. How we don't have to work to deserve it. It's just there, we get it. How it is inexhaustible and unfathomable. How it holds nothing against us and withholds nothing from us, in that it's unconditional and inexhaustible. Ooh. But the textbook doesn't tell us how to be kind. It just goes right ahead and says instead, that is your nature. That's your real, true nature. One with the divine, that's what it means. You are the loving kindness of the universe seeking expression. So, when you and I take the time to pause and look within, we can expect to find inside, right there, waiting to be used, kindness. Waiting to be invoked. Waiting to be evoked. We can expect to discover that kindness is actually our real personality. And furthermore, that it stays with us wherever we go. It follows us around. It's there wherever we go. And furthermore, when we do use it, it causes a light to be shone on the very path that we are walking. And that's not all. Now, when we do use our kindness, we discover that it's kind of nice. It's natural. It feels good. And that's not all. We discover that when we use it, there's a never-ending supply of it because we are not responsible for making it. We don't generate it. It's just there. We draw upon it. And not only that, when we begin to learn how to use our kindness, we find that not using it becomes unbearable. Because once we get started, it takes hold. Because it's like coming home, like a prodigal child. It's like coming home to our natural state, and it wants us. Here at the center, I learned that we duplicate the nature of the divine. Just like the nature of ice is water, the nature of being human is loving kindness. But we become distracted. We forget our true nature. That's what we talked about on Wednesday evening. Oh, the things that distract us from our true nature. What are they? Well, being too busy and thinking or on your schedule is distracting. What else distracts us? Being overly identified with our physical bodies and our looks and what we own and where we're going. Distracting. Or how about this? Unhealthy habits, or staying in unhealthy situations, or longing, yearning for unhealthy situations. Or how about procrastination, the art of putting off what I know I ought to have done last year? That's a distraction. Energy vampire. Or how about getting so tuned into the things that point away from self, like jealousy, envy, greed? Hope you'll join us this Wednesday when we talk about that idea that kindness is really our true nature. And Wednesday is also Veterans Day. So I'd like to interrupt our program right now to ask if there are any veterans today, if you would stand so we can acknowledge you. Thank you. Well, what makes it so difficult for us to get back to our true nature? Well, for one thing, being out of shape. That'll do it. Being unfit. Especially when the state of being out of shape feels more normal than the state of being in shape. So I'm going to ask you to use your imagination with me right now, because I know what I'm going to describe to you can't possibly relate to anybody in this room. Imagine with me that for some reason you became physically out of shape, not fit anymore. And then one day you decide to get back in shape. But although aliveness and vitality is your true nature, you don't feel it. You're not feeling it. Fitness actually feels unnatural. It's an effort. It's a trip. Now imagine with me that you've been slacking for a while, eating badly, getting lazy for so long that it actually feels normal. Besides, everyone else around you is doing the same thing. See, it's the law of averages, and it's winning. Then one day you come to your senses. You say, wait, I have an insight actually about my life, and it's that I want to go home. I want to go home to my natural state of being. So you start to turn it all around. You're going to get started. And you go for a walk around Spring Lake, for heaven's sakes. And it's wonderful, except it's exhausting. And right after that initial high, you suffer the aches and pains, and that's right there where your lower mind comes in and says, I don't know, I think I was better off when I was watching TV and eating bonbons. That felt good. But you stop that voice, and you stick with it, and you stay with it, and you do get back into shape. You do. Oh, that's wonderful. You feel so good inside your body because you've come home. And you can do things that you forgot you knew how to do. And you realize it doesn't matter age, doesn't matter gender, race, religion, size. It's got nothing to do with it. Just the smallest little bit more increase in returning home rewards your sensation of being well, and you start to live from it. You come to yourself. Our loving kindness can get out of shape too, from neglect. Even though it is, as we're learning, our true nature. If we have been out of shape for long enough, it can seem to be more normal to be unkind than it is to be kind. And besides, No one else around is bothering to be kind. It must be normal. After all, movies celebrate snarky, sarcastic, get-even kind of heroes, working out the justified rants, going the way of the crowd. Must be natural, must be normal. Though there are definitely times when snarkiness is called for, says the crowd. But you wake up in a moment of insight and say, no, that is not me, I am not the crowd. No, I duplicate the nature of the divine. Loving kindness is my natural state, and you feel the yearning to go home, and you decide to take things in your own hand, and you're going to turn it around, and you decide to get back into shape. But it's not like a walk around the pond. Oh, it's not smooth sailing at all. You see, this takes energy, much more energy than I was hoping to use. And it doesn't even feel natural at first. And that's when the low mind comes in and says, maybe I was better off before, when I didn't have to worry about what comes out my mouth. I was better off when I could put people in their place and reserve judgment to be delivered whenever I wanted. It was natural. But you stop that kind of talking, you stop it and you keep practicing, and then the miracle reveals itself to you and you go, oh my God, it doesn't take energy to be kind. Being kind releases energy, all kinds of energy, because you've come home. You've come home to the endless source of kindness in your own life, and you just can't use it all up. It's there. Getting started is the trick. We've got to dive in to break the inertia. There's a section in the book about taking the plunge, and he says, but how can we mobilize that potential for kindness? Mainly, we just do it. Every day is filled with opportunities to be generous, materially, emotionally, with our talents, with our time. There's no need to wait around for some revelation or transformation. Just take the plunge. Plunge into kindness and start being it. Well, what is kindness? Oh, it would be so lovely if there was a cut and dry definition, but life, it's not like that. It's not going to make it easy, no. We realize at some point, I am going to have to think it through for myself. I'm going to have to really understand, what does acting kindly mean for me? And the author in the book says, you can look at the opposite of kindness to kind of get to your understanding, and there are the obvious willful wrongs, like real deliberate wickedness, he calls it, like killing and stealing and hurting and hoarding. But, he says, what about the many ethical gray areas? And this comes directly from the book. If you're against killing and violence, how do you feel about the way your food is prepared? He asks, can you really call yourself pro-life if you smoke cigarettes? He asks, is it moral to pay for designer vitamins when millions are starving? And he calls these essay questions because there's no clean-cut, simple answer. And yet, the answers to these questions are so very important, because if we avoid answering these and questions like this, then we go with the crowd. And we don't discover our own responsibility for our actions. We don't discover it. And I don't know about you, but for me, I know it is no use for me to say, I am acting and doing and choosing the way I am, and then point to some external reference. I know it's not going to be any good for me to say, well, it's the Bible, it's the Quran, it's the Sutras, the Vedas, or the Gita, or this person. No. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. No, it's more complicated than that. I'm going to have to consult my own conscience. He says in the book, Socrates reported that he had an inner voice that guided him and it would let him know when what he was doing was right or wrong. Here in our teaching, we call that intuition. And we say intuition is our direct link to our true, authentic self. Problem is, if you've been distracted for long enough, you may no longer have a relationship with your intuition through to your true, authentic self. You may be out of shape, so you don't anymore know what it feels like or what it sounds like when it does speak. You have to get back into shape. You have to go to the kindness gym to get started. What is it that stops a person from getting started and practicing more regularly being kind? Well, there are risks. The risk of being disappointed when your kindness may be misunderstood or rejected. Well, there's the cultural idea that kindness is weakness. And with that, with being kind, you lay yourself open to the possibility of being exploited and taken advantage of. Well, that exists. It's there. But there are also many, many good reasons to lean into it despite the risks and practice being kind. Neurophysiologist James Prescott, he studied 49 cultures. And he concluded that in the cultures where there was a high level of physical affection shown to children, there was a corresponding decrease in violence, crime, murder, and torture. Who'd have thought? And even if there are no infants or children in your life to practice on right now, kindness can be applied to adults, strangers, plants, animals, inanimate objects, all of which respond rather well. You don't even have to believe in God to use that. You know, I made a decision a very long time ago to behave consciously as if kindness is very important to me. And I discovered something. I discovered that kindness is very important to me, and it is also my greatest weakness. And if there is a place where I'm going to get out of shape, that's it. I have to keep on going back to the kindness gym. I have to keep on staying on the track because it is that easy for me to go with the crowd. That easy. Right now, I'm exploring kindness not only in the words that I speak and my actions in the world, but kindness in my attitude and in my thinking. And in a way, that's the more challenging practice. To handle people and events in my thinking with kindness. But it is a worthy project. And the book of the month says it is one of the pathways to a life of freedom and meaning. So I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to invite you to join me. If for some reason you have lapsed, got out of shape with your kindness, I invite you to practice it this week. Take the plunge. Dive in. And let kindness shine a lamp on your path to lead you back to your true, authentic, real self. He's waiting for you. I invite you to breathe in with me. As you exhale, let your eyes close. As we, each one of us in our own way and according to our own beliefs, acknowledge divinity, the Creator, the beginning of all. Whatever name we use, we're talking about that which is eternal, everywhere present, immortal. So that as we raise our thought up to this consideration, we become aware again that everywhere that we go, everywhere that we are, every thought that we think, we are immersed in the presence of divinity that lays available and open and ready for us to draw upon and to give expression into the world. So we are coming to a full realization of ourselves right now and sensing that as we draw upon this eternal reservoir of loving kindness and give it expression in this world, we do so not only for our own well-being, but for the betterment of all life everywhere. And so we do, through this prayer, we call upon it to shine bright like a lamp on our path, to cause us to know the difference between what is right and what is wrong, to cause us to select with grace and purpose our habits, our thoughts, our words, our actions. And it is like coming home. And as we pray this way, we are remembering that the same loving kindness, which is divinity, responds to us and establishes us right in the answer of what we are praying about. And so we get the sense that we might as well begin to act as if it is already so, and that we are returned to our state of loving kindness. And that is why we say together, and so it is.